Inflation is a Bank of Ghana mandate. Price stability is a Bank of Ghana mandate. And then in ensuring that their mandate allows them to deal in precious metals, of which gold is part. So they can refine gold. They can buy, sell, import, do whatever they want with gold.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of BizTech on GhanaWeb TV with me, Mauli Aholimega. On this episode, I have here with me a very special guest in the person of the Managing Director for the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited, Mr. Edwin Provençal. Mr. Edwin, good to see you. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is the second time we're meeting. Right?
Yeah, it's really good to see you. Now you have a new office. How are things going at BOST?
Oh, the new office, the problem office. Anyway, I'm sure you remember this office was a huge topic some time back. I mean, God being so good, we've been able to resolve all the issues. The project started from 2015. I mean, and I keep saying that when we mix politics with business, sometimes it doesn't end well. We've incurred lots of costs, but the good news is that we have moved into the building, and this also proves that for projects that started before our ex-president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo came into power, he has ensured that we resolve all issues and then benefit from these assets. This is a testimony of one of them, and we are happy we have moved into our own offices.
Great. Yeah, so now let's come to today's topic for today, which is the gold for oil. As you know, the Vice President had made the initial announcement back in November announcing the program. And we've seen some implementation go on. And we just want to find out from you, from BOST in itself, how are things going with the gold for oil program?
Thank you very much. I'm very passionate about this topic because of the results this program is yielding. I mean, I'm sure you remember that in November, December, you saw what was happening in this country, where inflation rates had got into almost 50%, 52%, I mean, to be precise. And Forex had gotten to almost 15, 16 cities. I mean, that was precarious, and it was symptomatic of an economy or a market that had failed. And once there's a market failure, even though we knew we were going to IMF, we knew IMF was going to take time. So that was when the Vice President decided to bring a group of government entities together to try and resolve this issue while still talking to IMF. I'm sure you acknowledge that where there's a market failure, the responsibility for the correction of that defect lies solely on government. And in order for government to correct these failures, they use the policy instruments at their disposal. So inflation at 52%, Forex climbing up was a no-no. That was a no-no, and government had to do something before the people of Ghana, something happened to the people of Ghana. So that was what birthed this Gold for Oil program, and I'm happy to say that all the assumptions and all the hypotheses we put in place, the results are showing, and we've been able to reduce fuel prices from those high prices all the way to currently what we are seeing now at 12 point something cities. And then Forex has also come down drastically to where we are now. We believe that it will still go down further. And you can see that it's culminated in the reaction of the transport unions to also lower the transport fares. And that was the whole idea of this particular program. And so thanks to His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, thanks to the Vice President, thanks to the Minister of Energy, thanks to NPA, thanks to PMMC, thanks to Bank of Ghana, and then thanks to BOST and all its staff, we've been able to we are achieving the objectives set for gold for oil. Yes.
Speaking of objectives, I'm sure this policy is quite new. I mean, the mode of operation, having to do the barter with the gold and then the Bank of Ghana. What is BOST's specific role in this entire gold for oil policy? I mean, if you can run us through the salient steps.
Yes, that's important. So, I mean, I'll start from the key stakeholders. So the key stakeholders for this gold for oil policy are one, Bank of Ghana. So Bank of Ghana, in its law, is mandated to keep price stability in this market. So if inflation gets to 50%, obviously, Bank of Ghana has to do something about it. Not only that, for Bank of Ghana as well, in Section 50 at 612 as amended of their act, tells them that the bank, it says, and let me read it verbatim. It says the bank may import, export, refine, hold, sell, transfer, or otherwise deal in gold bullions, and any other precious metals as determined by the board. So inflation is a Bank of Ghana mandate. Price stability is a Bank of Ghana mandate. And then in ensuring that their mandate allows them to deal in precious metals, of which gold is part. So they can refine gold. They can buy, sell, import, do whatever they want with gold.
It's like the domestic gold program that they have.
Yes, like the domestic gold program, but that is domestic. But they can even bring in gold to shore up their reserves, etc. So that's Bank of Ghana. Then you get to NPA. NPA regulates the downstream sector, and so yes, they play a key role in petroleum imports into this country because they're downstream activity. Then you go to PMMC. PMMC is also mandated to do what? License. Upon license buying agents, they are mandated to grade, assay, value, and process precious metals. They can buy and sell precious minerals. So PMMC was in this as well, together with their ministries. So Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, you had Ministry of Energy there, and then you had BOST also in there. BOST, we already, what we do every day is to bring in fuel and make sure that we have some reserves, which we are not doing so well in the reserve side because nobody's paying for us to store the fuel. Mm-hmm. So we bring in fuel, and then we sell the fuel to bulk distribution companies. And bulk is 100% owned by government. NPA, same is the regulatory agency. PMMC, owned by government. So government would use the tools at its disposal, which are these stakeholders, to correct the market failure that I spoke about. Another stakeholder that was critical in this was CBOD, the organization of the bulk oil distributors. So all the meetings we had, they sat in, appreciated what their concerns were, and then we had to engage them to make sure that it was holistic. So these were the stakeholders. So now back to your question as to what role BOST is playing. So BOST is the pivot around which this whole program works. Well, so you remember that pre-COVID, Ghana had recovered from whatever we went through from 2017, the banking issue, where lots of banks and microfinance companies collapsed, etc. So we had recovered from that. And if you remember, we were being touted as a country with the highest growth rate. That's pre-COVID. The economy had turned around, going up. And then COVID happened. Now, when COVID happened, I'm sure you would acknowledge the fact that the whole world economy shut down. People were told to stay at home. Mandatorily stay at home.
There was a freeze on everything.
There was a freeze on everything. Productivity ground to a halt. That meant that government revenue inflows came to a halt because productivity, everybody was at home. So government tax revenues started dwindling. Don't forget that before that time, we had accrued reserves up to almost 4 or 5 months of import cover. And that was amazing. I mean, from where we took the economy. Now, the moment government revenues stops flowing, but then, if you remember, government workers who are more than who consume more about almost 50% of our total revenue, they were still being paid salaries. You get what I mean? They were being paid salaries, but there was no income coming.
So there was a deficit happening.
So the deficit started from there, where we had also taken lots of loans. I mean, for capital projects, these are good loans. But where you don't have income coming, and you have to service your debts, and then you have to also look for money, dollars, to buy medicine. You remember? People stayed at home. We gave them food. People stayed at home. They got free water. People stayed at home, free electricity. All these expenses eventually would have to be paid for. There was no income coming. But if you remember what the president said, I'm sure you do, he said he was going to do whatever possible to preserve lives in Ghana.
To bring the economy back.
But he knows how we know how to bring the economy back to life, but we don't know how to bring human beings back to life. So the whole attention was to cushion the impact of COVID on the citizens of Ghana. And if people have forgotten, there were huge expenditures. Yes, we got some loans to support, but there were huge expenditures and with zero revenue coming, zero income coming in. So our reserves started dwindling. Because we had to buy medicine, we had to buy PPEs, we had to buy whatever. Our reserves started dwindling. There was no money coming in. Now, don't forget that the opportunity cost of government giving us food, paying electricity on our behalf, etc., 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 was that our disposable income was still in our pockets. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And that happened in lots of countries. So, post-COVID, the situation post-COVID was that the whole economy shut down in the world, and the economy started opening up. You got what I mean? In the whole world, because the whole economy shut down, and all of us were made to stay at home, guess what happened? We had lots of money in our pocket. So the moment the economy started opening up, people overnight wanted to go back to the lives they were living before COVID. So there will be demand for goods and services globally.
And that's what the oil came.
No, before that. There will be demand for goods and services. But the goods and services on the supply side were not available because the world economy has shut down. It was now opening. So you saw lots of money chasing few goods and global goods and services. What will happen to prices then? Prices will just start going up. So prices started going up post-COVID. And that's the explanation. And it was a global event. I mean, if you look at what happened in the US, inflation started going up everywhere.
They're almost experiencing a default.
Yes. And so that is what happened. Now, before COVID, when Ghana's economy was booming, our real interest rate as well, which is the nominal interest rate minus inflation. For Ghana, our real interest rate was positive. For America, the real interest rate was almost zero or negative. Because the interest rate in America was about 0.2%. And their inflation was hovering around 1%, 2%. If you do the subtraction, the real interest rate was negative. So if you had money to invest in America, where would you invest your money? You would look for an economy that has a positive real interest rate to invest. So that was why we got lots of FDIs, a lot of capital inflows into Ghana to come and buy our bonds, to come and, it also made us borrow a lot. But the economy was booming, so it wasn't that much of a risk. But when, after COVID, inflation started going up and Ghana's inflation started coming up, our real interest rate reversed from positive to negative. And in America, they also started increasing their interest rates. And eventually, their real interest rates became positive. So if you are an investor having money in Ghana, any negative real interest rates, as compared to positive in America, what will you do? You will dump the bonds in Ghana, and so it caused a capital flight. And post-COVID, the capital flight also exacerbated the condition of the exchange rate. So our exchange rate started going up. Why? Because everybody was looking for dollar to get out. So inflation started going up, exchange rate started going up. Seriously. And petroleum prices started going up. Why? Because petroleum prices, a huge chunk of it depends on the exchange rate. So in November, it reached 23 cedis and over. And that was a no-no.
So that forced the idea of the policy to come into place?
No. The policy it contributed. But what forced the policy to come into place was the Russia-Ukraine war.
Okay. But some will argue that the challenges have been existing already before the war.
What challenges? Have we had a growth in Forex up to that level ever in our economy before? No, we haven't. Have we had inflation up to 52% within 2 months in this country before? No, we haven't. It was a huge external shock. It was not a gradual increase in prices. It was a drastic external shock. And it happened globally, not only in Ghana. I mean, Argentina, even in the US and America, their interest rates are still going up. So, I mean, that is what happened in this country. So then the issue was that, okay, once we are going to IMF, it will take a while. What can we do to alleviate the suffering of our people in Ghana? And then this group of stakeholders were called together and said, look, because in Ghana, the moment energy prices goes up, everything else goes up. So if we want to control this inflation and tame it, what do we have to focus on? Energy. And then we realized that, so the problem was inflation. But inflation was dependent on energy, and the energy was dependent on energy prices, and the energy prices were dependent on Forex. Are you with me?
So all those were tying down to...
What role is BOST playing? So the whole model is that BOST brings in petroleum products. Okay. If we can pay for these petroleum products with a different payment mechanism outside dollars, it will reduce the demand for dollars in this country. So we said, what commodity or which other type of money can we use to pay this? And then we realized that, damn, Ghana, there's a reason why we call Ghana a Gold Coast. It's a very good reason why Ghana is called Gold Coast. So why don't we rather pay for the oil with gold? And so Bank of Ghana started buying gold through PMMC. And BOST is the one who contracts for the oil. And once the oil comes in, we tell Bank of Ghana that the quality is okay, and then they pay for the gold. And now the oil is traded locally in Ghana in cities.
Great. So speaking of numbers, I just want to take a quick break, and then we'll delve into the numbers proper on the gold for oil. So I've been speaking with Mr. Edwin Provencal, and he's the MD for BOST, and we've been finding out about the gold for oil policy and the developments that have taken place since the start of the program. We'll be right back after this break.
Everyone needs the perfect snack to munch on during a fun moment.
Wow. Enjoy the tasty McBerry Twist cupcakes, deliciously baked and packaged for a sweet treat.
Premium quality cakes baked with love for all, enriched in butter and milk.
Yummy.
Oh, McBerry Twist cupcakes. Simply irresistible. Try one today.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back from that break on BizTech. I still have here with me the Managing Director for BOST, Mr. Edwin Provencal. We've been talking about the Gold for Oil policy program and the role that BOST is playing since the inception of the program. Mr. Edwin, I've been having a very interesting conversation with you. I just want us to quickly zoom into the numbers. In terms of BOST, yes, I do like numbers. In terms of BOST, how much have you guys been able to bring in terms of selling and then distribution?
Interesting. So, so far, since January, we've brought in 10 cargoes.
Petrol and diesel?
Petrol and diesel, 10 cargoes, equivalent to 381,750 metric tons, or 467,196,000 liters. There are 3 more cargoes waiting to be discharged.
Okay.
So in total, we brought about 13 cargoes, equivalent to almost 486,000 metric tons. Yes.
That's quite a lot so far.
Oh yes, it's quite a lot, but it's even less than 50% of the market.
Okay, so you still have some work.
So there's still some work to be done.
But how are the BDCs and OMCs also receiving this policy? Because there were some arguments and concerns on their part that this policy was going to come and take away their jobs, and it's like government is forcing them. Yeah. Are these concerns valid?
Very, very good question. I started this discussion by, and I'll ask you a question, that when there is a market failure, whose responsibility is it to correct it?
Comment.
Thank you. And how can government correct it? By using its policy tools and policy instruments and things it can control. And so we are not in normal times. So I disagree with stakeholders who claim that government, in trying to alleviate the suffering of the people, is trying to kill their businesses. That is not true. Okay. And I'll demonstrate why it's not true. The BDC ecosystem is made up of 36 BDCs in Ghana. In January, when we brought in the first cargo, 6 people bought from us.
6 out of the 36?
6 out of 36.
So that was a 30%, 30 remaining.
30 remaining.
Okay.
By March, 19 BDCs were buying from us. By April, last month, 23 BDCs bought from us. And the beauty about this particular program is that hitherto, my BDC colleagues, my brothers and sisters out there, faced huge forex risks in this market. Today, they buy everything in cedis and sell in cedis. So the forex risk that they used to carry and price it to the customer.
It's less.
So we were paying their forex risk.
Okay.
That forex risk has been eliminated, and the customer is now benefiting from lower prices. That is one benefit. The second benefit is that they don't need to go and raise any dollar LCs with huge forex risks as well, because they raise CD LCs or buy in CDs. It's eliminated. The third is that they have guaranteed margins now, because today when they buy from us, there's a 40 pesos per liter that they can
which is the full
add.
Margin, right?
Yes, there's BDC margin and then there's an OMC margin.
Okay.
The OMC margin is about 50 pesos.
Okay.
The BDC margin is about 40. They have guaranteed margins. And so, initially, yes, I understood their angst and their fears, their concerns. But the evidence shows otherwise. From 6 to 22 BDCs that are buying from us. Why are they buying from us? Because they are getting value. Government has created an ecosystem that is killing 2 birds in one stone. The first one is that it's bringing price stability through forex. So the forex imported inflation is coming down, and I'm sure yesterday you read that Ghana's currency has appreciated by over 30-something%. Yeah. It is as a result of these interventions. You don't do the private sector cannot help you do this. It's a Bank of Ghana mandate, and it's a government mandate. So that is what government is doing. Transport fares have come down by 10%. That was a corollary of what we are trying to do.
But some of the drivers say they don't want to, they're not going to reduce.
It's obvious. I mean, price is always sticky downwards. So once it goes up, nobody wants to bring it down. But what we're doing is forcing prices down. And so, yes, I empathize with them, but their risks, I don't think, reflect reality. Yes.
Okay. Now, to my next question, we've seen some drop in the prices of fuel at OMCs. I think a lot of them.
A lot of drops.
Some 2 days ago, which is the second pricing window of May. Are we expected to witness further drops? And is this as a result of the gold for oil policy or the IMF, or there's a drop on the international market?
Yes, I mean this is a very great question. So in economics, the variables are a lot. They are a lot. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So speculation alone can impact
Pricing.
So there's speculation, there's the IMF, there's gold for oil. There's so many other things that can impact. Unfortunately, I haven't done the analysis to disaggregate them.
Okay.
But I know for a fact, what the data is telling us, for a fact, is that gold for oil is playing a very critical role in the price reduction we are experiencing. Because there are real factors that affect prices. And we are deliberately shoring up our reserves in gold, using some of the gold to pay for the oil. Prices are coming down because of that program. IMF will help to bring prices further down. The speculators would not achieve anything by speculating otherwise. They will speculate in the areas of price reduction, which will drive prices further down. So I can tell you for a fact that the trajectory at which prices are moving today is going to continue in the foreseeable future. And Ghanaians are the ultimate beneficiaries from this government program.
Great. Speaking of future, you are at BOST, you are the head here. Is the gold for oil policy making BOST profitable?
I can't say that today. I mean, because if I was a private person, I would not be selling at the prices I'm selling at today. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, last year, my trade margins were hovering around 7%. The gold for oil margin for me is almost 2%. You understand? Okay. So I can't say I'm making lots of profit. No. It's almost between 1.52%. It resonates, it swings between 1.52%. So why? Because government is using its agency as a policy instrument to achieve a macroeconomic challenge that we had called inflation. So we are not in normal times. I'm not making a lot of money. No, I'm not making a lot of money. As compared to my trade margin in 2022 and 2021. No, okay. I'm not.
Right, great. So we are wrapping up, and I just wanted to find out from you. I mean, we've had our bailout request approved by the IMF. I'm sure it's good news for you and government, but in terms of the gold for oil policy, should there be some concerns about conditionalities coming in where we have to take off some programs and policies? Will it affect the gold for oil program, or this is something that's going to be there for a long-term project for government?
I mean, that's a very brilliant question. I don't want to talk for the finance minister or the Bank of Ghana, but I think that the payment of a commodity via dollars, cedis, or another commodity called gold is the sole responsibility and preserve of Ghana. Okay. And I don't think that anybody can tell us how to pay for our oil. That is one. We haven't said we will stop using the dollar. There are other things. We still auction dollars. But we need to start taking our destiny into our hands and start doing commonsensical things for the benefit of our people. We've had gold in this country forever. Since 1962, the reserves was 8 tons inherited. as we speak, before we started gold for oil, the reserve is still 8 tons. Other countries come to Ghana to buy our gold to go and shore up their reserves. What stops us from doing the same thing? I think it's high time we start loving our country and loving our people and implement policies that will inure to the benefit of you and I and our people out there who suffer from these price shocks every year. And so this is a novel program, and I have a strong belief that the managers of this economy will take the right decisions with respect to this program going forward.
Mr. Edwin, I've been having a very interesting conversation with you. It's been very insightful hearing from your point of view. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and God bless you.
I've been speaking with Mr. Edwin Provençal, and he's the managing director for BOST, and we've been talking about the Gold for Oil program and the role that it plays since its inception back in November 2022. He's been my guest on this week's edition of BizTech. Before we go, don't forget to log on to our website, www.ghanaweb.com. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, at the GhanaWeb. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, GhanaWeb TV. My name is Mauli Aholimega. Please do stay for Biz Headlines.